Every week or so, Andy MacDougall hauls his projectors and movie screen to the Newman Center on the Plattsburgh State campus, where a handful of familiar faces start arriving.
How are you?
For what has become a tradition, movie nights featuring all kinds of selections from MacDougall's collection of 16mm films.
There we go.
For this week, a triple feature, including this short starring Louis Armstrong. A treat for these moviegoers who month after month get to watch rare and classic films they've never seen.
So a little blast from the past for you. We're going back now to the old style reel-to-reel film.
On occasion, MacDougall will hold screenings elsewhere on campus, like this film at the Student Center, stressing the importance of clean water for students who gather to celebrate Earth Day.
And we've got our opening short for the evening loaded up and ready to go. And then here's Go West, the Marx Brothers film, the featured attraction ready to follow.
And when there are no screenings on campus, movie night moves to MacDougall's home, where he turned his family's basement into what he calls his motion picture palace, surrounded by his collection of films and projectors of all shapes and sizes. On this night, friends and fellow cinephiles gather for a Marx Brothers comedy classic. And Andy MacDougall joins us now. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here. It's an honor.
Can I call you a film buff, or is that kind of an insult?
It's absolutely okay with me. Film geek, film nerd.
Historian?
Historian, preservationist.
So how did it all start? What was the first movie you remember ever seeing?
Mary Poppins in a theater in Ithaca after my family had moved from Quebec City, where I was born.
And how old would you have been?
I was still 3 years old when that was released in '64. And totally hooked.
What was it about that movie that you remember?
Well, it was just, it was just an explosion of interest and a sense of wonder and stirring my young imagination to want more and more of this. And curiously, I can really only remember Bambi from that particular, time before we moved to Plattsburgh. And then my memory is flooded with large screen movie-going experiences at the Strand Theater. And my parents weren't big drive-in people, but they would go to the Strand quite a bit.
They would?
Yeah.
So you would go as a family?
Yeah, I would go as a family and with, maybe 2 or 3 families together. And there I saw reissues of Disney's Swiss Family Robinson, Darby O'Gill and the Little People, Oliver, the multi-Oscar winning Oliver, First Run, saw The Yellow Submarine, an interesting little unexpected deal sweetener, so to speak. I remember I went to see, it was Yellow Submarine that I went to see with my sister, and then all of a sudden, unannounced as far as we were concerned, we didn't know there was anything else, and then James Garner and Support Your Local Sheriff came on after that. And so it might have been maybe a little too mature for, I don't know, I can't remember all that much about it, but it's not what our mom sent us to see. But we just stayed there and watched this Western that came on after Yellow Submarine.
And that was funny. You mentioned you went to the movies a lot, to the Strand, but your mom was a little strict about letting you go see...
To see the monster movies that played on Saturday and Sunday afternoons, the double features, yeah. But that's what I wanted to see the most, because I was sneaking viewings. We had French-Canadian TV accessible, and out of Montreal, both Anglophonic and Francophonic. And I did the old ploy of putting pillows under my covers and sneaking downstairs in the odd hours to watch. That's where I saw King Kong for the first time, dubbed into French.
Did you get into filmmaking in your teen years? Your dad had an 8mm, right? Did he take family movies?
My dad was shooting a lot of home movies. I really didn't get into filmmaking per se until I was in high school at the late lamented Mount Assumption Institute. Really, it wasn't until a senior class project, some friends of mine and I, Apocalypse Now had just come out, and a few of my friends were really crazy about it. I hadn't seen it, but they recruited me to be the medic in a short film shot for a senior class project in the swamps of Shazy that was supposed to be a river in Vietnam, and we actually had somebody who was well-versed in flash powder explosives one of our fellow, soon to graduate fellow seniors was our demolition guy. And so we shot this short film about two brothers who were obsessed with becoming Vietnam veterans. So I just kind of like went along for the ride. It wasn't really an interest of mine because I was still steeped in horror and sci-fi, with being my primary interest in film. But I had also developed a liking for, through this book, Movie Comedy Teams, which I purchased when I was only 12 years old, my first film reference book, written by Leonard Malton. I had developed an affinity for the Marx Brothers, W.C. Fields, Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chaplin. It really started with that book, and Channel 6 out of Montreal was running them on Sunday nights, really late, and again, the whole thing about sneaking downstairs, but it was all about comedy now. So comedy was kind of competing with the monsters for the front row in my imagination.
When did you start collecting films?
That was when I was in 6th grade. I got a hold of a catalog from Black Hawk Films out of Davenport, Iowa, and it was standard 8mm silent Charlie Chaplin's right about the time I purchased that book. And I was so excited. My paper route money paid for this little movie that came in a mailer, and immediately threw it on my dad's Keystone projector, and that was the beginning of my film collecting, which continues to this day in 16mm. I've had some 35 pass through my collection from time to time. Never was able to watch it on my own though, because I've never owned a 35mm projector, not even a portable one. We were allowed to go into the Strand Theater after hours under previous management, way back in the late 80s and very early 90s, to watch the 35mm prints that we were purchasing just to be able to watch them after hours at the Strand. Private screenings because of the whole licensing and copyright thing. And I have one of the reels left over from that back in the day. And
I know that's sad for you, because for the past decade or so, the movie theaters have been phasing them out. Everything's gone digital.
Everything's gone digital. And
so really nobody shows 35mm films anymore.
Not in this region, no.
A lot of people say the pictures are so crisp now and clear and high resolution and high definition and surround sound. And so a lot of people think the digital age is just fantastic to go and experience that in a movie theater. But for you,
because I grew up with film and it's an old friend, and so I'm not going to let it vaporize and become just a memory. And I like the feel of film, and there's a certain grain and a texture to it in its projection that I just don't get. Everything is just too perfect for me when it's digital, when it's, too clear-cut, too defined. There's got to be, I tell people, I still maintain an extensive collection of vinyl because I like listening to the crackles. It just is very relaxing for me. And the gentle clicking of the film through the film projector does the same for me as vinyl crackles. So that's one reason why I stick with it. And plus, because that's all I ever knew for decades. And so I'm not letting it go without a fight.
You love that sound?
Yeah, I love the sound.
You love the way it's projected up on the screen. How many folks do you have that will routinely come to your movie nights?
Probably 15. Yeah, 15 hardcore regulars. Yeah.
But you always hope to reach out to the new viewers, to try to bring in more people. And is that getting harder and harder?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the more people become set in their ways with streaming and just the overall digital mosaic. Yeah, it's the communal film-going experience is becoming more and more of an endangered species, you might say.
And you have screenings right on the SUNY Plattsburgh campus.
At the Newman Center.
At the Newman Center. You reach out to students, I'm sure, on campus to
try
to get them
I
to come.
try. It's not for want of trying, because I plaster the SUNY campus with the posters that I put up all over Plattsburgh as well. And I don't know how much sense it makes to anybody there to have me. to see what I put on the posters about a screening on good old-fashioned reel-to-reel 16mm film. Who knows who that's clicking or not clicking with at this point.
So most of the films you show at the Newman Center and elsewhere are your own
personal prints or on loan from other collectors, but mainly mine. Yeah.
How many do you have now?
Right now, oh, it's been downsized quite a bit since I moved, but I probably have about 100 features right now and lots of shorts.
Well, let's talk about the movie screenings that you have planned.
The next one is at Pouring Light Studios Gallery in Malone.
Okay. And that's coming up on the 7th.
Wednesday, March 7th.
Okay.
I've been invited to participate in a documentary series. My contribution is an oddball little film that was a documentary that was made about Dennis Hopper as it was post Easy Rider, where he'd been given carte blanche in film and art and in life for that matter. And I could retitle it The Unraveling of Dennis Hopper, because what you're seeing happen is too much fame, too much money, too fast, and the guy is like coming apart at the seams. So the film is called The American Dreamer, Pouring Light Studios Gallery in downtown Malone on Wednesday, March 7th, starting at 7 p.m., $5 admission with free popcorn.
And then the following weekend?
The following weekend is at the Newman Center with a screening, a double feature of The Red Planet Mars from 1952 and War of the Worlds, 1953, in the context of Christian science fiction, which they both do fit that profile.
And your screenings are free?
Absolutely free.
For donations, if folks
donations
feel
absolutely welcome, yeah. Refreshments served.
And to have a new face come to one of these screenings, is that what's satisfying for you?
Especially when it's somebody who has not had any kind of exposure to celluloid at all. And so, you know, to be their first taste of what good old-fashioned reel-to-reel film projection is very satisfying, yeah.
Andy MacDougall, thank you very much for coming in. And
thank you very much for having me.